This is the Louie T Network.
In the lab room.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Draft Zone. Draft Zone.
Welcome, football fans, to the 2014 Louie T Mock Draft. The draft is now open for business. The Houston Texans are on the clock. Boy, the Houston Texans would love to get out of that number 1 pick. Trade back, collect some picks, and acquire some young talent for this aging roster. But nobody is willing to dance with new head coach Bill O'Brien and the Houston Texans. So the next best thing to do is just go with your gut and draft the best player available. Doesn't hurt that the owner is smitten with the best prospect in the draft in years, and add to the fact that Bob's exact words were that there's not a lot of separation between these QBs, and there are more than just 3. Stop right there. Heard enough. Know exactly where you're heading with this. I know the pick. Turn the card in already. With the first pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Jadeveon Clowney, defensive end, South Carolina. There has been a trade. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are now on the clock. Trader less is at it again. The St. Louis Rams landed this pick from the Washington Redskins in the blockbuster Robert Griffin III trade and have continued to reap the benefits of that trade. And so, General Manager Les Snead continues to live by the notion, I'd trade my mama away, but my daddy won't let me. At number 2, the possibilities are endless for the St. Louis Rams. They could take the can't-miss number 1 receiver prospect that they lack in Sammy Watkins. They could solidify their offensive line with one of the 3 elite tackles out there, which would be the first off the board. Or they could dangle the number 2 pick in the face of some elite hungry teams and see who bites. Speaking of which, new Bucs head coach Lovie Smith and new Bucs general manager Jason Licht, they are not playing. Nope. Those guys are cleaning house. Lovey's got the broom, JL Smooth, he's got the mop, and if you're making a mess in Tampa, then you got to go. Speaking of messes, Mike Williams was already a little dirty when the new crew came on board, but as we all know, talent can sometimes clean up a little funk and make it more tolerable. But deodorant and cologne without a bath can only go on for so long. And Mike Williams and his offseason drama and subsequent stabbing is a mess that Lovey and JL Smooth cleaned up right nicely. And now look to fill a void by trading up to number 2. With the second pick In the 2014 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Sammy Watkins, wide receiver, Clemson. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now on the clock. Second-year Jags head coach Gus Bradley may smile in your face and give you that Pete Carroll rah-rah act. Yeah! But he really wants to smack Andrew Luck and every other quarterback in the league right in their damn mouth. Sure, he could use a signal caller here. Sure, he could even take a true number one wideout here so he won't have to rely on Justin Blackmon anymore. But he wouldn't be able to sleep at night knowing that he potentially let an elite prototype Leo pass him by. With the third pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Khalil Mack, linebacker, Buffalo. The Cleveland Browns are now on the clock. The Cleveland Browns are the wild card in this draft, with 5 picks in the first 83, 2 of which are first-round picks in one of the deepest drafts in recent memory. Looks like the Browns' gamble to pass on last year's draft is paying off huge dividends. With that said, in a perfect world, the Browns would take Sammy Watkins and then double dip in the first round for their new franchise QB. Being that Samuel isn't available, the Browns have to go to plan B. What is plan B, you ask? Great question. Snag the franchise quarterback first and then get Joe Hayden some help with that second first rounder. Well, what are you waiting for? Let plan B begin. With the 4th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Johnny Manziel, quarterback, Texas A&M. The Oakland Raiders are now on the clock. The Oakland Raiders. Busy offseason for the silver and black. They went out and assembled a Pro Bowl squad from 2009. A bunch of 30-somethings. And oh yeah, Matt Schaub. Still, these veterans have winning pedigree and something to offer. But their best days are clearly behind them. However, what bringing in a host of aging veterans did do for the Raiders is make that 5th pick overall expendable. No, they can't just give it away, but they would love to trade it away. Too bad Reginald can't get away with what he got away with last year with the Deion Jordan to the Dolphins trade. So essentially, if you are the Raiders, you are stuck at number 5 with 2 options. 1, take the tackle. And there are some elite tackles up here, none of which has come off the board yet. So you'd have the pick of the litter of the one that you perceive to be the best. Number 2, you could take what you perceive to be the best or the second best quarterback off the board if your best quarterback is gone at this point. And so that would be option number 2. Who'd you say your quarterback was again? Yeah, I think we know what the pick should be here. With the 5th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders select David Carr, quarterback, Fresno State. Raiders, you better pray that you don't get David Carr. Let's hope that Derek Carr is not the reincarnation of David Carr. We'll see. Hopefully, Derek is much better than David. Carry on. The Atlanta Falcons are now on the clock. 2013 wasn't that bad for the Atlanta Falcons. They only lost their anchor at center in Todd McClure to retirement. Sam Baker was injured for most of the season. So was Roddy White. So was Julio Jones and Sean Witherspoon, which ended up resulting in a 4-12 record. Okay. So maybe I distorted last year's reality a bit. 2013 was terrible for the Atlanta Falcons. When Lamar Holmes and Jeremy Trueblood are your starting tackles for the majority of the season, bad things happen. Thus, you can understand why the decision to select an offensive tackle here at number 6, despite needing an elite pass rusher, makes the most sense. With the 6th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Greg Robinson, tackle, Auburn. The St. Louis Rams are now on the clock. So Trader Les did it again. He did it again. Damn, he's good. Question. What's the only thing better than trading out of a pick that you didn't want to make in the first place? Answer. Wait for it. Wait for it. Trading out of that pick that you didn't want to make in the first place and then getting one of the guys that was extremely high on your board if you were forced to select the pick in the first place. Damn, he's good. Wait, did I already say that? With the 7th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the St. Louis Rams select Mike Evans, wide receiver, Texas A&M. The Minnesota Vikings are now on the clock. Head coach Mike Zimmer and the Minnesota Vikings are in no position to pass on quarterback at 8 with their first pick. Norv Turner is now the offensive coordinator in Minnesota, and he prefers the traditional stand in the pocket, push the ball down the field kind of guy, like a Troy Aikman or Phillip Rivers. These are quarterbacks that he's had success with in the past. With Adrian Peterson as your back, you sure could use a little pizzazz at the quarterback position to go along with AD's flavor, but that's just not the way that Mike Zimmer usually rolls. When your mentor is Bill Parcells, flash is passed over for the even-keeled, steady hand at the quarterback position. So when it's all said and done, the question remains, Zimmer, who's getting the keys to your Beamer? With the 8th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Blake Bortles, quarterback, Central Florida. The Buffalo Bills are now on the clock. Going into his second season as Bills head coach, Doug Marrone knows that if he is going to find out if E.J. Manuel is the quarterback of the future in Buffalo or not, then 3 things have to happen. 1, E.J. Manuel has to stay healthy. 2, the Bills need to get him some more targets. Mike Williams being traded for does help that to a certain degree, but you could use some more help in the passing game. And 3, they have to protect him better. Bills were tied for 4th most sacks surrendered in the NFL in 2013 with 48. This one's a no-brainer. You turn in the card, get a surefire starter, potentially an all-pro blue chipper, you plug him and play him. With the 9th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Jake Matthews, tackle, Texas A&M. The Detroit Lions are now on the clock. Jim Caldwell is a new head man in Detroit. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. And even though Caldwell is an offensive-minded coach who was brought in to take Matthew Stafford and that high-powered offense to the next level, he still plans to bring Double D to the Motor City. Mine's out of the gutter, people. I'm talking about discipline and defense. The former is something that Caldwell will have little trouble doing. The latter, not so much, at least with what he inherited in the secondary. The Lions secondary was a sore spot that refused to force turnovers last season. And if Caldwell is going to transform this defense in Detroit, that has to tame the likes of Jay Cutler, Aaron Rodgers, Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey. Never trust a man with two first names. And Jordy Nelson, at least twice a season within his own division, then Caldwell knows what he needs to do here. Doesn't hurt that he's the best player at his position in the draft and gives you extra added value in the returns game. With the 10th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Justin Gilbert, defensive back, Oklahoma State. The Tennessee Titans are now on the clock. Ask and you shall receive. That's what the Tennessee Titans said to me after I begged and pleaded for them to get an elite edge rusher with some substance. If someone mentions Derek Morgan or his ACL injury again, I'm going to start shoveling cinnamon down my throat until I pass out. Sure, the Titans acquired Sean Phillips late in free agency, but you know that I know that you know, and you know that I know that you know that I know that that's a Band-Aid on a situation that needs to be stitched up. That said, new defensive coordinator Ray Horton is about to get an athletically gifted piece of clay, molded properly, and he could help this Titans D go from really good to potentially dominant. Enter defensive playmaker right about now. With the 11th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Anthony Barr, linebacker, UCLA. The New York Giants are now on the clock. The New York Football Giants are up to their normal chicanery. Eli Manning was absolutely awful last season. Some of that had to do with the offensive line and their struggles. Maybe they should shore up the offensive line again. The Giants' response? Let's draft a D lineman. Hey, there's a slight vacancy left by the departure of Hakeem Nicks at wideout. The Giants' response? Let's draft a D lineman. Giants could use an upgrade at the tight end position. Best one still up on the board right now. Giants' response? Cool. Let's draft a... All right. I get it. You're drafting a D lineman. Again. With the 12th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Aaron Donald, defensive tackle, Pitt. The St. Louis Rams are now on the clock. Never trust a man with two first names. The St. Louis Rams lucked up. Taylor Lewan wasn't supposed to be here for them. They were supposed to have to take a safety at 13 and feel really good about what they had just done. But then came the opportunity to take the highest rated player left on their board, which just happens to coincide with a position of need. There are enough 3 H's to go around the entire Rams war room right now. With the 13th pick In the 2014 NFL Draft, the St. Louis Rams select Taylor Lewan, tackle, Michigan. The Chicago Bears are now on the clock. The Chicago Bears were sweating bullets and deucing bricks when Aaron Donald, never trust a man with two first names, came off the board at 12 to the G-Men. At that point, they were almost certain the Rams would snag Ha-Ha Clinton Dix and leave them 0 for 2 in the serious need / perfect fit category. Luckily enough for the Bears, Taylor Lewan was still hanging around and the Rams couldn't pass him by. And so, voila, the Bears end up getting one of their men. With the 14th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Hassan Clinton Dix, defensive back, Alabama. The Pittsburgh Steelers are now on the clock. Certain players just look like Pittsburgh Steelers. Wouldn't you agree? Last season, the Steelers told us that Jarvis Jones was a Steeler, and that he was. Now, did he play like one? Totally different topic for a different day. But the fact of the matter is, the man looked the part of a Steeler. Doesn't Darqueze Dennard strike you as this year's Jarvis Jones? Not in ability, but in his ability to look like a Pittsburgh Steeler. Ike Taylor is back for what is most likely going to be his swan song in the Steel City. Time to pass the torch. With the 15th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Darqueze Dennard, defensive back, Michigan State. The Dallas Cowboys are now on the clock. See, this is where 8-8 gets you in the National Football League. It gets you in no man's land. Not good enough to get great value late in the first round, but not bad enough either to get something elite at the top of the draft. When life hands you lemons, make some lemonade, right? It better be good too. Now, no more franchise career sack leader DeMarcus Ware. The obvious choice here at 16 is to replenish that position right away with a guy that fits Monty Kiffin's Tampa 2 defense and a guy that can come in and play the defensive end position for this Cowboys football team. That almost makes too much sense to me. Sure, maybe Coney Ealy going here is a bit of a reach, but what other options exists for this Cowboys team? What makes a lot of sense here other than maybe Calvin Pryor at the safety position? But if you look at the Cowboys, they gave a big contract to Barry Church, and you look at J.J. Wilcox, a young safety that's going into his second year, to give these guys a chance to gel at the safety position, I think the draft pick here should be at defensive end. Next time you make lemonade, leave the seeds out. With the 16th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Coney Ealy, defensive end, Missouri. The Baltimore Ravens are now on the clock. Join me Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the Louie T Network for part 2 of my 2014 NFL mock draft. Picks 17 through 32. Like the content? Want more? Sub up.